This idea of like, I don't have time for this fits into that founder persona, this
like-
YC persona.
It's like being brusque and rude and direct is seen as being in demand and busy.
Yes. It's like I'm like literally writing you this email whilst I'm in my Waymo going to my next investor meeting.
I'm negotiating with someone else.
Yes. So being rude was a huge strategy change for us, and it worked. I hate to say it, but it actually worked. And there are these like micro things. We also had personas. We called ourselves Lucrezia and Paulina, and it sounds stupid, but it really helped us get into character. So every time we went into these meetings, we had like a complete switch of personas.
Welcome to Inside Startup Funding, where you get to learn about raising capital from founders who have just done it. I'm Helena Fogarty. I'm a fundraising expert who helps startups raise their seed and Series A rounds. Today, I'm speaking with Lucia Mari Sanguino, co-founder and CEO of AIVA. AIVA is an AI intelligence layer for hotels and creates the intelligent brain for a property. Hotels often run on a stack of disconnected tools, one system for the front desk, another for revenue, another for housekeeping, another for guest messaging, and none of them talk to each other. The data is there, but it's very siloed, and by the time anyone acts on it, the moment has passed. AIVA helps hotels understand and anticipate what's happening with its guests and their properties in real time, shifting from reactive problem solving to proactive decisions. Lucia built AIVA with her co-founder and CTO, Paula Rodriguez-Jo, who also happens to be her best friend of 20 years. They're both from Ibiza. The company started in Ibiza last year and was brought to Lucia's dorm room at Columbia, and in June they closed a $1.5 million pre-seed round with Comma Capital and 645 Ventures alongside them. So let's figure out how they did it. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
I was so excited when I saw the announcement on LinkedIn and I hit you up immediately.
I remember.
Yeah, so I want to dive into your raise, but before we do that, I want to learn a little bit more about you.
Let's do it.
And Paula. And so you grew up in Ibiza.
I grew up in Ibiza, born and raised. Paula spent her beginning years there too. And it's an amazing place. I mean, it's full of nature. The people are amazing. It's very community oriented. It's a lot of the same people that have lived there for generations.
Yeah.
And so that makes it a really special place. Also, everybody works in hospitality or in industries relating to it. So it was pretty fun growing up in a place where the industry is at the very core of what everybody does.
What's the swing of like the off season to high season? Like, is there a core group of the population that's there year round?
Yes, we're around 160,000 people that are there year round.
Yeah.
And then peak season for us starts, peak is June, July, August.
Mm-hmm.
The season in general is now starting a little bit more in around April, ending in October. But it's you can definitely see a difference in those summer peak season months versus winters. Winters are very calm. You walk through the center of town and you will definitely see at least 5 people that you've known your whole life.
Yeah.
So, there's pros and cons to that, but I say there's a lot more pros.
So I lived in a tourist town for 8 years.
Yeah.
And I remember during like the high time, we didn't even want to leave our house because the main roads were so crowded, like during Christmas and New Year's and Easter week. It was just out of control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a pretty similar sentiment. I think there's a bit of both. Tourism on the islands is something that's a little bit controversial. Some people are very against it. I think it's important to understand that there is a balance. Our economy thrives and survives off of tourism and the hospitality space.
Yeah.
I just think it's about doing it sustainably and knowing what type of tourism is beneficial and what type of tourism benefits the island and the people in the island.
Absolutely. There's so many more opportunities because of the tourism.
Correct. But I do think it has to be done in a sustainable way, not only environmentally, which of course, but also in terms of what types of tourists are you attracting, what types of services are you offering. Ibiza is very known for the party scene, but Ibiza is a beautiful island.
Yeah.
It is, it has some of the best sea in the world. The beaches are incredible. The hikes, the nature, everything around it, even our old town, some of the towns around the island too. So that's some of the tourism that we also want to be attracting,
right.
And really leveraging that part of the island in a type of way that's sustainable, and both tourists enjoy it, but the locals are still able to enjoy the land too.
Yeah. And has your family been there for very long?
Lots of generations. So so I have family stemming from Mallorca, Alicante, Ibiza, and actually my grandma is from Liverpool, so we have some British blood in there.
Yeah.
But they've all been born and raised there, and it's super cool to have your whole family in one place. I speak to people and they're like, "Well, you're close to your cousins?" I'm like, "Yeah, my cousins live 10 minutes away from me my whole life," and my grandfather's siblings and all of their children and all of their children.
Yeah.
Were all born and raised there too. So it's a very big communal feeling, which is nice.
So we just talked about you growing up in Ibiza.
Yes.
Did you always know you're going to start a company?
I always knew I was going to start a company. I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. So actually both of my grandparents in some way were entrepreneurs. And it's something that I think if you grow up in a house of entrepreneurs, that's something that you end up living and something that you end up aspiring to. My dad also grew up telling me that having your own company is the best thing you can do. And so I think I've had that inculcated from a very young age. I actually started my first company with Paula and another friend of ours back in 2020. We had just both started college. It was COVID. And we were like, what should we do? We have so much time. We want to start a company. And so we started a fashion sustainability company.
Cool.
We quickly realized we had no connections in the industry, no domain expertise. It was B2C, so it was also super hard in terms of traction. And we let it go. And we spent that period between Sage, which was our initial company, and AIVA, kind of waiting for something that we both had strong conviction towards and we saw as a huge opportunity. So a long time awaiting to find a project like AIVA and to kind of deep dive into it with everything that we had.
And what were you doing between then?
So finishing college, both of us. Then Paula went to work directly. So she's a software engineer. She's amazing at what she does. And she learned from the corporate world. I graduated and I actually took 9 months off.
Nice.
So actually I worked as a GM for that summer till the end of season, so till October. And then I decided to take 9 months to travel, and I backpacked around a few countries.
Where did you go? Come on, tell me.
I started in the US, which is an unpopular route, but I did California, Hawaii, the South, and I had no plan. So I had my ticket to California, and I had nothing else planned. And then I went to Taiwan, Japan, the Philippines, Australia, New Zealand, and Indonesia.
Amazing.
I had to work I ran out of money by January. So Australia was a work trip and I actually worked in hospitality. I went back to housekeeping roots.
Yeah.
So I worked as a housekeeper and I worked at a restaurant as a waitress when I was in Australia to get some money to keep on traveling and continue my journey.
Where in Australia were you when you were working?
I was in Byron Bay.
Okay.
Which is also Ibiza-like.
Yes.
It's a very, very small town. You walk down the street, you will know at least 5 people when you walk down the streets. But it was an amazing experience.
Yeah. I spent 6 months in Australia, so in Coogee nearby. Yeah.
In Sydney?
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Oh, Coogee is amazing.
Oh, Byron Bay is amazing.
Yeah.
Neither of us are from
Australia
there.
is amazing. Australia is just great.
That's very cool. So how did you come up with the idea for AIVA?
Yeah, so I was working as a GM that summer, and I was working as a GM at a property. So I was basically managing operations on site.
Yeah.
And my day-to-day consisted of getting in super early, sitting in front of my computer, opening around 50 different tabs and trying to understand who my guests were, what they were like, and trying to understand what my property was and how it was functioning that day. Because every day is so different.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes the job super fun job, but also a super stressful job where data is key.
Yeah.
And so I would open up all these different tabs and I would try and make sense of this data. There were no correlations, none at all. And then I would, have to go and walk through each department and make sure that everything was functioning and speak to the guests. And that's where I saw the real value in my job, right? Those guest interactions, making sure that the staff was happy because happy staff always reports to happy guests.
Yes.
And so I saw an opportunity in actually how you could leverage this richness of data. And the first thing I did was call Paula. And I was like, there's a huge opportunity in this space. It's an industry that you and I both know. I grew up with Paula, and so we would spend a lot of times in hotels together.
Yeah.
And we're the perfect team to do it. we have to do this. And that was first day of AIVA, and we continued growing it since then.
Very cool. And when you were GM at a property, what was this, a luxury property? Was it mid? What level?
It was a 4-star property.
Yeah.
Resort style, beach resort, so on the coast of one of the beaches of Ibiza. It was an amazing property, and I was very lucky because it was easy to manage. The heads of department were absolutely incredible because they had been there for a long time. And that is rare in hotels. We have huge turnover. So to come into a property that was already pretty well managed definitely made my job easy. And I had, 2 people above me. I was deputy GM. So there were 2 sister hotels, and the GM and the deputy GM from the other hotel, which was a 5-star hotel, much bigger property. I learned so much from them. And so I was surrounded by a great team in terms of everybody working at the property and also great people to look up to. So definitely learned a lot. I asked too many questions. I think at one point I would have lunch with them on Saturdays minimum, and then normally a few other times a week. And I would just bombard them with a list of questions. They would make fun of me because I would show up with my notes. But again, every day is so different. So you encounter situations that you never thought you would encounter. Some fun, some less fun. And guests are unique.
Yes.
Staff is unique.
Yes.
And
you're being very diplomatic.
Yeah, I mean, it's I understand. Guests save a ton of money to spend 1 week a year on vacation.
Yeah.
And they want it to be perfect.
Right.
And working in hotels, you want to make sure that week is as perfect as possible, but there's so many factors. And so sometimes guests can be conflicting.
Yeah.
Sometimes they can be wonderful.
Yeah.
It's your job as a GM to know how to handle those situations in a way that you're always protecting your staff, but you're still offering your guests the best experience possible. So it's kind of playing around, trying to balance all of these different factors.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's where data feeds in too, right? How do you actually form these correlations to understand how your guest is experiencing your property at that point in time?
There was a great commercial by Geico at one point where it's like, we have a 98% approval rating, but 2% of the people will never be happy.
Yes.
And I think guests and customers can be like that.
Yes.
Some of them, especially if they're New Yorkers, oh my gosh, they can complain and they want to be heard.
Yes.
But if you can change that around to a good experience, they're going to become your best fan.
So that is the most rewarding thing
Yeah.
as a worker in the hotel space. I think, there's a few different types of reviews, but the worst review is the one that pops on the TripAdvisor or Booking because the guest has left.
Yes.
There's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
The best type of complaint is the one that happens when the guest is still on property.
Yeah.
And you're able to change that experience and turn it around.
Yeah.
That is the most rewarding thing ever. And one, you avoid that review going onto third-party sites or public sites. But 2, you get to see a super happy guest.
Yeah.
You're walking by the hotel and they're suddenly smiling at you, not shouting at you, which is always a win. So it's definitely the hardest part, but the most rewarding.
Yeah. So what made you come to New York?
A few different things. Primarily, I studied mostly social sciences, primarily economics. And I was really starting to get into the tech world, and I wanted something that bridged both.
Yeah.
I wanted to be fluent technologically. I wanted to understand tech from the inside and be able to speak to engineers and have that fluency. And so I found this master's at Columbia, which is the MSc in Technology Management, which basically bridges those 2 worlds together.
Yeah.
And so I applied, and I was supposed to start the year that I went traveling. I deferred, and I started last August.
Yeah.
But on par with that was the ability to stay in New York and having AIVA in mind, building my company here in the city. New York, as you very well know, is an incredible place. I think there's ambition like no other. Everybody in the city is doing something different, and whatever they're doing, they're extremely passionate about. And I think that energy is irreplaceable. But also in terms of venture, it's a really attractive place to be. So for us, strategically, it just made a lot of sense.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I do have to say, I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to do so. I think that's an important factor. I've worked very hard, but I've also been very lucky with my opportunities, and not everybody gets to come here, do a master's and build a company. It takes privilege and opportunity, and I was lucky to have both.
And it's very nice of you to say that because, listen, I spent 8 years living in Costa Rica, and when I moved there, I was like, oh, anyone can do it. I wasn't aware of my own privilege of the ability, like it takes a lot to go someplace new.
Yeah.
It takes monetary resources.
Yes.
It takes a lot, you know. So yeah, it's nice to recognize that, but it also takes a lot of ambition and focus and the background that you've already created to get into Colombia.
But the mix of both.
Yes.
A good balance, luck and hard work working together to fulfill that.
Yeah, but I love that you said that. That's wonderful. So tell me about, we've talked a little bit about the problem.
Yes.
There's all kinds of different layers of intelligence.
Correct.
And none were communicating together.
So hotels work with around 15 tools to manage their properties. Each tool is either, a legacy tool or a point solution. Essentially, it fulfills an end goal for a property. So whether that's revenue, whether that is, a PMS, which records check-in information, point of sales, a CRM. So you have what I like to call the 3 buckets. You have the guest data, you have the operational data, and then you have the macro factor data. And inside macro factors come things like weather, seasonality, events.
Yeah.
And these 3 buckets live in isolation, but the data points within those 3 buckets also live in isolation.
Yeah.
So you end up having super rich data that's fragmented. But all of that data influences how guests interact with your property.
Right.
And, Paula and I love to say that guests don't experience in isolation. They very much experience in the context of everything that happens around them. So things from the macro factor bucket and things from the operational bucket are huge determinants of how a guest will experience.
Like rain.
Yes.
Or storm.
Correct. Or events around the city, or even things like maintenance issues, things like staffing, things like occupancy, availability, right? I think these are factors that are not considered within a CRM that should really inform how you're communicating with your guests and what you choose to upsell, how you choose to manage your resources, and all of the above.
Yeah. Of course.
Yes.
Right? It makes sense?
It makes complete, it's not rocket science, is it? Like you have fragmented data, it's siloed. Let's try and understand how it all works together. And I think that's what Paula and I call the architecture of it all, right? You have these 3 buckets. How do you build a horizontal pillar across all of those that really helps you understand your property in a 360 view in real time?
Yeah. So do you see this as a layer that lives on top of things, or is it something that replaces the systems?
The replacement conversation is a very hard one in the hotel space. Hotels change PMS around 3 times in the lifespan of a hotel.
Okay. Yeah. Not often.
Not often at all. They like the tools that they're used to. And so we're definitely coming in as a layer that sits on top.
Yeah.
We know that the replacement conversation, at least now, is a very difficult one.
Right.
So we've steered away from that on purpose.
So it's a non-starter now.
Correct.
Yes. Got it. So take me through a little bit through the development of the company. So you won an entrepreneurship competition. How did that happen?
So we applied to be part of Lions Cage at Columbia, which is an entrepreneurship competition, and we were lucky enough to win. But that actually didn't hold much. So I think it's important to note that the value of these competitions is the exposure that you get.
Yeah.
And there's 2 types of exposure here. The first is the fact that travel and hospitality is an industry that everybody can empathize with. It's not an industry that's deep tech or really, really hard to fathom or grasp. And so getting feedback from everybody is extremely useful, right? Because for us, it is.
Is it really?
You choose what to listen to, and you choose you apple pick you choose what you decide to take forward.
Yeah.
But I think it's so important to listen to every single insight or every single opinion that people bring up. I do. I think that then it's
very generous of you.
Yeah. In a relative context, but I think half of your job as a founder is to really make sure that you're setting part of your ego apart and you're stepping back and you're listening to opinions, thoughts, perspectives that maybe you hadn't come up with, but that could be pivotal to the way that you build your company or the directions that you choose to take.
Yeah.
And so for us, those opinions have always been important. Then we'll choose, we have our conviction as a company.
Yeah.
We have our vision. We know where we're going. We'll choose what we bring to the table for discussion. So Paula and I will listen, then we'll bring certain topics to the table, but we'll definitely listen.
Yeah.
Like we think that's important, and it's actually been core to how we've built AIVA.
I love that, but it's contrary to some of my advice during fundraising, particularly, because I think at certain points in your company's life, you can be overwhelmed with feedback.
For sure.
And some of that feedback is just given because they're opening their mouth and they need to say something.
Yes. Well, that's a great point. And I think that that's the difference between the fundraising period and the building your company period.
Yeah.
And when you're fundraising, your job is to be right.
Yes.
Quite frankly. Like, you have to show investors, I am right. I have the right vision. I have the right traction. Like, everything that I'm saying, you have to be totally convinced that I am right.
Right.
When you pass that fundraising period, your job is to open your ears and make sure that you're making your company successful and you're doing everything in your power to do so. It's not about being right anymore.
Yeah.
Right? You have to be open to being wrong and adapting and pivoting and reshaping your company to adhere to those changes in market, in perspectives, in customers.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great point, because I think that fundraising, you have to be right. Building your company post-fundraising, you have to make sure that you're building a successful company, and that entails being wrong.
Right. So if you closed your round, you're now opening the ears up again.
Yes.
Yes.
You're always opening your ears up, but when you're fundraising, your statements, you have to put on a persona that you know everything.
I want to hear more about that persona. We'll get there. But so we've talked about the problem. What is it like building a company with your best friend?
It's the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
We are the luckiest people in the world to do so. I think, we definitely laid out some ground rules before starting AIVA in a full-fledged way. And, ownership was a big conversation for us. What part of the company do we have ownership into? And that's not only in terms of tasks.
Yeah.
So you're the CTO, I'm the CEO, I work on this, you work on that.
Yeah.
But also in terms of, okay, if we're conflicting in a decision that we have to make, I know and I trust that you are better positioned to make a decision on this front. So if we're butting heads after many discussions, I will allow for you to make that executive decision. And we know, I think part of being friends for so long is that we know our strengths and our weaknesses.
Yeah.
And so we were able to distribute that ownership pretty easily.
That's pretty amazing.
I think, also, we know how to disagree.
Yeah.
We've disagreed for many years. And this is something we would tell investors. They were like, you're best friends. Is this like a good idea?
Right.
And we were like, well, we've spent our life disagreeing. I always say, I'm Barca, she's Madrid. That's the prime disagreement that you can have. But we know how, when, what to say to one another in moments of conflict. So I think that has just helped us be the best founders we can, especially when we're working together.
Yeah, that's amazing. So when you go out to raise for a company, you usually want to be in a hot sector.
Yes.
You are hot in AI, not so hot in hospitality tech.
No. Not yet.
Not yet. I'm hoping it's going to pick up. But
Yes,
how?
slowly.
So what was that like then?
Yeah. So, just a prime example of this. We set a blurb for warm intros, right? You have a company blurb that outlines what your company does, who you are as founders, and your goals, your traction, all of the above. When we got our first investor and we were trying to close the round, the first thing our first investor said was, okay, we have to change this blurb. And the word agentic was very much prominently in that blurb. We'll talk a little bit more about the gamification of what fundraising is a little bit later, but knowing who's on the other side of the table is one of the most important factors in raising money, and being able to empathize with what their role is, what they do, and what they're looking for. Right. And the word agentic and the word AI are two of those primary things. So how you frame your story has to be framed for the audience that you're speaking to. Yeah. And for us at that time, it was VCs. Now it's hotels. Now it's completely different. Yeah. You use the word agentic 3 times in a blurb for hoteliers, and they're like, get this away from me. Like, what do you mean? Tell me how you're touching my P&L. Tell me how you're incrementing my revenue. Yeah. But stop throwing the word agentic around, right? Whereas for VCs, that was top tier.
Yeah, and it depends on timing as well, because what could be in right now
for sure
could be out in 3 months.
For sure.
Literally that fast.
Yes. And so you have to adapt to that too. Hopefully you've raised in 3 months.
Yeah.
But if not, that adaptability is equally as important in that situation.
So let's dive into the raise. When did you start? Well, when did you know you needed to raise?
Yeah, so we had traction established. We had piloted at a few early properties.
Cool.
And we knew that all we needed was capital to kind of launch and have the ability to execute to the full of our abilities. And so Paula quit her job. Prior, she was working in 9 to 5 and literally a 5 to 2 a.m. every single day building AIVA as her afternoon job. And I think, you know, we all love to think of founders as like the YC founder that just drops out of Stanford or drops their job and sits in a garage and starts building something. I think we have to look into the realities of most people and what being a founder for most people actually means. And most people can't just quit their jobs and rely on something without having an anchor. So Paula stuck around and did that for a long, long time until we were ready to raise. So when we were ready to raise, she quit her job. She flew to New York and she stayed with me. I call it the New York version of an SF garage, which is my mattress, her mattress. We woke up, we looked each other in the face. We had breakfast, we worked, we looked at each other, and then we went to sleep. And that was just a repeating cycle for literally around 2 months.
Wow.
And that was the period raise. So we did 2 months of a raise. It was initially supposed to be 4 weeks. Which was a very explicit strategy. We wanted to pack in all meetings in a 4-week period. One, so we were not wasting time not building, right? You want to raise quickly so you can keep on building quickly. But two, because it created that FOMO and that kind of urgency on the other side of the table for those investors and those VCs.
But how did you learn how to do that?
It was actually an article that another founder surfaced for me, and he was like, I think you would really, really like this. I tried fundraising 3 times and it didn't work till I followed this article. And the article basically said, it was 8 weeks in the article. He recommended we did 4. He said, you have to pack them up in this way. You have to schedule them preemptively. You have to raise in these periods. So the article outlined how, like, you know, summer and Christmas period are not raising periods. 4 weeks is the perfect amount of time because you're able to conglomerate it so your pitch gets better, but also they feel urgency. When you go to a VC and you say, I'm closing the round in 4 weeks. If you want to be in, it's now or never. That's a different conversation than we're raising. Right? You're raising for 3 months. You're raising for how long? Like give them a timeline to know that you are as demanded as much as, like, I think dynamics are very much focused on founders wanting money. I think it's important to note that VCs want to deploy money. That is their job. They just want to deploy money into the right companies and they don't want to miss out. So make sure that you're positioning yourself in a way that they feel like they're missing out if they're not investing in you, and that you create a sense of urgency so that they hurry up in their processes too.
So to get those 4 weeks or longer of the meetings, usually I have my founders do a lot of preparation with the warm intros, with, you know, getting the pitch deck and the financial model and all that stuff already sorted, the data room ready to go. And then we do any meetings before that are just, we can meet with you, but we're not raising right now. We're going to open the raise in a month.
That's
so
exactly it.
Tell me more about the preparation, like how you got to those 4 weeks of meetings.
Yeah, so we were kind of disorganized, I'm not going to lie, at the beginning of those 4 weeks. We had prepped all of our materials. The only thing we didn't have at the time was a data room. We had our pitch deck, we had our blurbs, we had, you know, the spoken speech too. But I think a lot of it you learn on the go. So for us, a lot of the pitch refinement happened as we got a ton of objections from VCs, and we knew where the doubts lied for these investors, where the questions arise, and as we learn to objection handle those, right? If you're asking me a risk-oriented question, how do I turn that risk into an opportunity?
100%.
Right? And so
important.
For us, that was practice. And the benefit of having it in a condensed period of time is that you're having these meetings every single day. You're having a ton of meetings every single day. And so as you speak and as you refine, you become super fluent in answering those questions, in being eloquent in the way that you describe your company, in knowing what to say, what questions to ask, how to speak. We learn on the go, to be quite honest. And I think that's why maybe the 4-week period didn't work for us. And it became like more of like an 8-9 week period.
Yes, but that's still pretty fast. And I think that there's a couple things working. Like what I see working there is by packing your meetings, this is what I tell founders, like each individual meeting feels less high stakes.
Completely.
Because you're able to evaluate people the same way that they're evaluating you. Completely. You're able to show up differently.
Completely.
And maybe you don't have to get every risk to promotion question answer right, because you're like, I got another call in half an hour.
That is so true. And, something that we did too is that we recorded all of the calls with a note-taking app, not like the video itself or like the full voice itself, but we had granola on and we passed all of the granola meetings through Claude. And so we were able to also identify where our weak spots were. And they were like, these are the questions that you get that are risk-based. This is how you should orient them to become more opportunity coded.
So good. Yeah.
So that was also key. And you can only do that if you have a bunch of meetings condensed in a short period of time.
So if you're having meetings back to back.
Yes.
And you're waking up and working and then looking at each other and going to sleep.
Yes.
When do you have time to run this stuff through Claude?
At night. At night. I mean,
and it's not even the running through Claude. It's the then learning and practicing and getting it right.
Yeah. So I think there's two answers to this question. The first is that this is partly why Paula and I were so explicit about creating ownership within the company. At the beginning, we were both kind of involved in the raise.
Yeah.
And it was a waste of time.
Yeah.
I took over...
No. Say that again.
Yeah.
It's a waste of time.
Waste of time.
Yes,
the
one
biggest
person.
waste of time ever. And why is my CTO helping raise money when she should be building the product?
Yes,
right?
Thank you for saying that.
Like, it's... the biggest mistake we made was starting to raise together.
Yeah.
So first thing, we detached from that situation. I took ownership of the raise. She took ownership of continuing to build, and she was only there for the very necessary meetings.
Right.
So either, a product deep dive or a last meeting with the IC where they wanted to meet the team and see our dynamic.
Yes, I love that.
So important.
Yeah.
Completely changed how we worked. And so while she wasn't in the meeting, she was always working on the other side of the table.
Yes.
And it was amazing because she was able to give me really good feedback. Because she was almost like separated from the situation.
Yeah.
She didn't have that emotion to she wasn't emotionally connected to the call like I was.
Yeah.
Because she wasn't doing it. So she could give like a really good external opinion. And I think, the second factor is just you just have to invest the time. It's a 2-week period. It's a 4-week period. And so that it's going to be a hardship, and you're going to be working late nights, and you're going to be refining your pitch with one another. Yeah. And Paula, for me, was the most pivotal factor in Claude was amazing. These meetings were amazing. But Paula knew the company as well as I did. Yeah. And she knows me very well. And so she was able to give me insights both from what we extracted from Claude, but also from her being a spectator to these meetings while she was coding or working with her agents and doing all of that to ensure that my pitch was as optimal as possible. So a lot of time, but merged with a good co-founder, it's always easier.
So tell me about this idea of not being so nice.
Yeah. So I told you about having ownership roles mid-raise. We decided to do that. Yeah. There was another kind of big decision that we made mid-raise, and that was, okay, this strategy isn't working. Essentially, we had this idea that if we were just ourselves, we were so confident that we were a great team, we had a great company, that of course we would get investments. Right? And I think that there's a big difference between having a good company and raising money. And that's because raising money is so gamified that you have to kind of feed into the rules of the game. Yeah. And, I think specifically as women, a lot of times we try to accommodate, and that accommodating can be confused for doubtfulness in a way.
And weakness.
Yeah. And so I would go into these meetings and I would say things like, is that clear? Do you understand what I mean? Or I'm sorry, I just, spoke a lot, I blurbed. Is that like, did it all make sense? Was it all okay? And Paula was like, why are you saying that? Like, it's not your responsibility. Like, your responsibility is to speak eloquently about your company, which you're doing. Yeah. So if they have questions, let them ask questions and let them bring that to the table. But I know what you're doing, which is good because you're trying to be accommodating. But we realized quickly that in this world, accommodating is equatable to being doubtful. And that's the last thing you want to be as a founder sitting in front of an investor.
Yeah.
Right? You want to be right. We mentioned it before, right?
Yeah.
You want to be confident. You want to be right. You want to be almost fierce in a way. Investors are very good at what they do, but they don't tend to have deep domain expertise.
Yeah.
And so they're looking for you to express that.
Yeah.
Right? Show that you know your industry like the back of your hand. You shouldn't be looking for reassurance from them. You shouldn't be, asking those reinforcement questions. You should be very direct and succinct. And with that came things like when we were writing emails.
Yeah.
And I would write best Lucia, and I would be, dear X, I hope you're well. And then I would write the email, and then I would write best Lucia, which is how I've been taught to write emails my whole life.
Of course.
And then we decided to try a different technique. Again, mid-raise, this change of strategy. We were like, okay, let's prompt Claude to be a rich white man. And we would pass all of my emails through Claude, and they were very, very simple. So I would write, hey, 9 p.m. work, ? Send. No best. No, I hope you're well. No anything. And again, it's this illusion of I don't have time.
Yeah.
Although writing best literally takes 0.2 seconds.
Yeah.
Being so rough in a way, or like fierce in the way that you're writing these emails, this idea of like, I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
It fits into that founder persona, this YC persona.
Yeah. It's like being brusque and rude.
Yes.
And direct.
Yes.
Is seen as being in demand and busy.
Yes. It's like, oh, I'm like literally writing you this email whilst I'm in my Waymo going to my next investor meeting.
Yes.
Right?
While I'm negotiating with someone else. Yes.
So being rude was a huge strategy change for us, and it worked. I hate to say it, but it actually worked. And there are these like micro things. We also had personas. We called ourselves Lucrezia and Paulina. And it sounds stupid, but it really helped us get into character. So every time we went into these meetings, we had like a complete switch of personas. And we were extremely confident. We were really direct.
Yeah.
And, I remember one investor asked us, okay, 5-10 years, give me a number. How big is this company?
Yeah.
And I looked at them in the eye and I was like, what's the biggest number you can think of? It's that. I was like, we're going to be meta, but for physical spaces.
Nice.
And we left the meeting and Paula and I looked at each other and we were like, how did we just say that? But it worked because, again, who's on the other side of the table? These investors are putting in money into, imagine it's 50 companies.
Yeah.
One out of those 50 has to be another level successful. Otherwise, it won't make up for the money that they've lost in those investments to those 50 companies.
Exactly.
So know your audience. If you're not speaking big enough, that investment is not going to be worth it for them.
Yeah.
So again, it's like, it is a game.
Yeah.
And it's trying to understand the rules to this game. And you can be taught the rules, but really you have to live them.
Yeah.
And start tweaking how those rules come into play for your game, because every game is different.
Yeah.
And for us, that was the mid strategy change. And that was, I think, the turning point for our fundraise.
Yeah. It's almost like it's bringing up things that I learned through negotiation class and just through negotiation and learning. Yeah. It's like almost being silent, allowing yourself to be comfortable with the silence and making someone else fill that void.
Yes.
Is important.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, you were quiet at one point when there was an investor reaching out to you.
We were quiet, yeah.
So tell me about that.
Again, that FOMO. Again, that desire that I'm so busy.
Yeah.
We had investors, double email us, and that's not heard of often. And that's because the silence created this idea of, oh, they're so in demand, they're so busy, and they knew that we were raising.
Yeah.
Right. So if we're in demand, it's because of the raise. It's not because of any other factors. We were very explicit in our first emails or our first conversation saying we are raising in a condensed period of time. So that silence signified high demand on the raise side. And all that does is create this idea of, oh, shit, I can't miss out. As an investor, if there's all of these other funds interested, I want to make sure I'm on that cap table.
Yeah.
And I think that mentality when you walk into a room as a founder is also very important. You want their money. Yes. forget about that. They want to be on your cap table. You have to be so confident in yourself as a founding team and yourself as a company to understand that they have to fight to be on that cap table, and they are lucky if they can get on that cap table. And the way that you will speak and the way that you will project those ideas completely change when you have that mindset versus I need your money in order to execute or in order to operate.
It's very different when you're like, please, can I have your money versus like...
And just the mindset shift completely changes the questions that you ask, the way that you orient the conversation, the way that you objection handle, the way that you walk into a room. So for us, that Lucrezia Paulina switch was also very much, you want to be on our cap table. When inside we were like, we really, really want to make this company work, so you need to give us the money now.
Can we just go back a little bit? In order to generate the amount of meetings that you had to have to make this happen, how did you get in the door?
So the first stage was the most difficult. So before the first check came in, was very hard, especially because Paula and I are both immigrant founders. And so we don't have a network here in the US. I think a lot of people that are, born and raised in the States or have a network in New York, it becomes a little bit easier because you know who to outreach to and you know that you have certain warm intros in place. We actually spoke to a ton of founders that made warm intros to their investors.
Nice.
And that proved to be the best route possible.
And how did you get in touch with those founders, and what kind of hit rate did you have of founders being helpful or just ghosting you, not responding?
Honestly, founders were really, really helpful and really big success rate in terms of outreach and response rate. Of course, the Columbia network helped a lot. But even, NYU network, Cornell, Harvard, MIT, I think if you're in a university, leverage that because the student card goes a long way.
Well, can you say more about that?
I mean, when you're a student, people want to help you. And so don't be afraid. Even if you're a founder, I think a lot of times as founders, we want to seem professional. So playing the student card isn't necessarily the route that we incline towards. Whereas I think people are very, very open to help students. So say, hey, I'm an ex-student at X university. I'm building this, would love to hear about your experience. Make sure to ask them more questions than you speak, because people love to speak about themselves. And founders specifically love to speak about themselves. So ask them a ton of questions, and that will lead to a mutual liking. And that would lead to probably like a second coffee chat. And there you can say, hey,
I love this.
Give me advice on this. And through that advice, they will most probably give you a warm introduction. Like they will offer it.
But it takes time to get there. So when did you start doing this? Like how far in advance for your raise?
Day one that I got to the US.
Wow.
So August, and we raised, April?
Okay.
So very, very early on.
That's so important. So we're looking at like 8 months or something. I can't do the math. But I was born in April. So I think 8 or 9 months is about August.
Too long. I think also, our first investor we got because we were part of AlmaWorks, which is an incubator at Columbia.
What is the name of it?
AlmaWorks.
AlmaWorks, like soul? Like Alma?
Because we have the alma mater, which is like
okay, got it.
And we formed part of AlmaWorks, and for a while, Paula and I debated, do we really want to do this? Like, it's another incubator. It's going to be the same thing over and over again. Nothing is beneath you when you're trying to raise as a founder. Join everything. Try and be in every room, obviously in like a reasonable manner. But if we hadn't been in AlmaWorks, we wouldn't have gotten our first investor who was there for demo day.
It's a very big deal.
It's a very big deal. And, I think exposure is the primary thing you want to be having as a founder that's about to raise. And it was amazing because we met David, who was our first investor, in a really organic way. And we had a conversation with him before it was a fundraising conversation. He saw us pitch, but it was a very relaxed chat. He was asking us about, why Paula was here and how we started the company, and not a traditional investor founder setting. So I think being exposed to things, forging those connections with founders more than investors at a very early stage, playing that student card, and also knowing that you're not beneath anything. Get yourself exposed to situations, get yourself exposed to people and things. And that includes joining incubators. That includes going to random New York City events. And probably 70% will suck.
That's what I usually say. Like, a lot of these are going to be awkward.
Yes. They're going to be awkward and you're going to be like, oh, I just wasted 2 hours of my day.
Yeah.
But it's part of the game.
Yeah.
And 30% will be good.
Yeah.
Well, 20% will be good. 10% will be awesome.
Yeah.
But that 10% might be just what you need to get that first check-in. And, following on to your question, once you have that first check-in, if you have good investors, which luckily we did, they will be making amazing warm intros to other funds that they think are a good fit.
Yeah.
And so that's how we got our second investor on the table through an warm intro from our first investor.
Amazing.
And I was speaking, I'm not going to mention names, but I was speaking to a founder who's a close friend of mine, and they have $300K left to close their round. And I was like, are your investors not helping you close this round? They're like, no, I've been begging for intros, and they're not making any intros.
Yeah.
I was like, that is literally, apart from the money, that is like the second thing that investors bring to the table.
Yes.
They should be looking out for you as a company. They should be making those intros.
Yeah. And founders should be checking about this before they take someone's money, because it is so important.
It is so important. And of course, I think as pre-seed founders, something important to remember is that we love to say, we want to make sure we have the right investors in our cap table. Yeah. But essentially, you're very, very early stage. Yeah. And so you need the capital.
Yep. Absolutely.
So it's a hard thing to do, to say no to capital because, it's not the fund that it's not your ideal fund, or they're not being, they're not adding a lot of value to the table that isn't the capital itself. But just demand it. Say, well, if you want to be on this cap table, I need X amount of intros to other funds so I can close my round.
Yeah.
And be very intentional with that, because our first investors were pivotal in us getting that second investment on the table and getting 10 meetings a day packed of VCs.
So important.
Yeah.
And getting those meetings was pivotal to closing the round.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, having that condensed period. Yeah. Because we got so many meetings through these first investors. And you never stop doing your own warm outreach. Mm-hmm. You never stop building your network. So whilst we had our first fund, giving us all of these warm intros and laying those out on a spreadsheet, and so that was very, very easy, I was still building my own connections, my own network. I was still doing my own outreach to other funds. You can't rely on that, but it's definitely a huge catalyst into closing that round.
And I want to say something about networking in New York, because I'm an introvert and I don't love going to big events. But the thing is, if you go to enough big events, you start seeing the same people and they start sucking less and getting more fun and more productive.
Yeah. And, I think also something awesome about New York is that you are so anonymous in the context of well, I can go to this event and I have nothing to lose. Let me speak to that random person. And that person could be, somebody that ends up being an incredible asset to your company, whether it's through a friendship, whether it's through an investment, whether it's through a founder-to-founder relationship. I think the cool part about New York is that you're so anonymous. If you don't ask, you don't get. Yeah. So go and ask. Yeah. The worst thing that can happen is that you get a no, and the no is on the table anyways. Yeah. If you don't ask, the no is there. So part of the cool part about New York is you can be anonymous and a little bit more daring in those scenarios. So if you don't ask, you don't get.
Yes, I love that. That is a funny thing, because I went from New York to a small tourist town.
Yeah, in Costa Rica. Yeah.
And the anonymity, I'm so used to that. It's a very big switch.
Yes.
When all of a sudden you're in a space where people know you and have opinions.
All the time.
New York, there's so much more freedom.
Yeah.
Well, you can be a different person every day.
Completely.
Yeah.
Coming from Ibiza to New York.
Yeah.
Two different worlds. Yeah. Right? Again, you walk down the street, you will see someone you know. Here, you walk down the street, you could be doing, cartwheels, and nobody would blink twice.
And you won't see those people ever again.
No, and nobody cares anyway. Embarrassment is really not a big thing in New York, which I love.
Everyone in New York is a main character, so they actually don't care what other people are doing.
Everyone has their headphones in, they're in their world.
Yes.
Which has pros and cons, but in this context, it's definitely a fun pro.
Yeah. So tell me, while you're in the raise, some of it was not fun.
No. A lot of it was not fun.
And then the close, you're getting closer to your goal.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit of how that felt. And when you closed, what did that feel like?
Yeah. So, not to speak about Paula again, but I think it was really, really important for me throughout that hardship to have her there. Yeah. Also because you could have a meeting. Well, we had two rituals. The first ritual was we would play Cielito Lindo, which is a song that says sing and don't cry every time a meeting went badly. And so try and make it light. Try and add some airiness to it.
Yeah.
But the second is that I could turn around and be like, what a dickhead.
Yeah.
Like I had a person that was in it with me and I could just turn around and be like, what a dickhead. Like that was a horrible meeting. I think as we got closer and closer, it got exciting, but it also felt so risky because, again, you're playing this game. It's almost like a chess game.
Yeah.
Every move is so important. And if you mess up one move, everything can fall apart.
Yeah.
Right? So you feel like this ton of pressure till you get that term sheet on the table and actually till that term sheet is signed on both ends.
Yeah.
And then
I would say until the wire.
Yes.
No, I would say until the wire.
Yes.
That's actually the time when I feel is most scary.
Stressful. Yeah.
Is after the term sheet and you're just waiting for the wire date.
Yeah. Specifically, if you've had to negotiate things, like if you're negotiating caps or you're definitely at a stage where you're like, oh, they're having an IC meeting today. I know that. I hope that nothing changes. I hope that everything is aligned. But then you hit the mark of your target raise goal.
Yeah.
And you literally have 2 minutes of happiness. And then you're like, shit, I have to make this the best thing ever now. And it's not, of course it comes, there's two aspects to it. One is the responsibility aspect, right? You want to make sure that you're doing good by people that have believed in you so early on. And so you're performing to the highest of your capabilities and you're making sure that this company is what you know it can be. And the second is you've been given this opportunity, which is a rare opportunity.
Yeah.
Like you now have everything you need to do what you said you would do.
For the next year and 2 months.
Yeah, for the next year and 2 months. But you have the opportunity and that is rare. Yeah. So I think like those 2 minutes of happiness and then the responsibility and I have to make the most of this feelings come in. But essentially now you're doing what you want to be doing. I mean, I'm the happiest now because I'm actually building my company, which is what I wanted to do since day one.
True.
Rather than the raise itself.
Very exciting. So what's critical that you hit in the next year?
So we believe that the most important thing for us will be go to market. Obviously, the tech needs to do what we say it will do, but we're confident about that. Now it's really making sure that we're able to curate a very intelligent and smart go-to-market strategy. Yeah. In an industry that's very specific, right? So
slow.
Yes, but I think there's reasons for that slowness. And one, I think that there's been a lot of bad tech in industry, and that's not necessarily, the vendors that are at fault. I think it's a conglomeration of things. I think it's, different factors from the hotels themselves to a lot of these tech tools being on-prem and not even on the cloud till post-COVID or very recently. Yeah. And then I also think that a lot of times we're trying to sell tech without empathizing with who the hotelier is. And, you can automate efficiency, you can automate experience. Yeah. So how do you communicate that to a hotelier to ensure that you show them that you're building tech for them and you're not building tech that's generalistic and doesn't understand the industry inside and out. Yeah. So I think it's slow because we have those two barriers in place. And the first one is harder to override because bad tech is a historic thing in industry. Yeah. The second one, you can curate and you can work on. And so getting, we're going live with a few properties this summer, but making sure that those turn into complete rollouts chain-wide. Yeah. And making sure that we get a good standing also geographically outside of Europe. So we have a strong network in Europe. Now we're trying to build that in the US, but we're also looking at markets like Latin America and the Caribbean really closely. Yeah. They have pretty similar structures in terms of the hotels, how they're managed, how they operate. And so trying to leverage both the chain model, but also the tech stacks that tend to surround geographies rather than hotel companies themselves are going to be key factors in making sure that we go to market right.
How important is it for you to be on site with the property when you close or when you launch?
So we have been very intentional about not having to constantly be on site, and that's because it's not a scalable model. Yeah. However, we do understand that this is a relationships industry, and relationships are core to any hotelier vendor relationship. So how we're working at the moment is that I will go and meet the COO or the stakeholder in place at that hotel so that relationship is established. But the moment of deployment, I don't have to be at the property.
Nice.
It's so seamless. Onboarding
job.
is so quick that I don't have to be at that property.
Yeah.
And Paula doesn't have to be at that property.
Yeah.
Right? It's something that we've been very intentional about in terms
Yeah.
of scaling and growing fast.
Amazing. I would love for us to move into advice for people who are just starting to think about raising.
Yes. Where do we start? Okay, I would say first thing, founders are your biggest asset. I alluded to this earlier, but I think we're inclined to often try and build relationships with investors or funds. And I think that's also important.
Yeah.
But I think your biggest asset are other founders. They empathize with you, they know your story, and they have those investor connections too that are really strong because those investors chose to believe in those founders. So when those founders choose to recommend you or give a warm introduction, investors place weight on that, right? So I think that's super important. And also in terms of support along your journey. One of the biggest, I think, factors in finding a good founder to speak to is find somebody that's just one step ahead of you.
Yeah.
Because their experience in terms of what you're living is so recent that they're going to be able to empathize and give you really good advice because it's so fresh.
Yes. But by the way, I have to call you out. You're also very generous reaching back for the people one step behind you, even a couple weeks behind you.
Yeah. I mean, it's when it's so recent that you've lived it, like that you've lived it so recently, it's so easy to be like, I feel you because I was there like this amount of time ago.
Yeah.
And also those founders might be a few weeks behind me now, but they might be miles ahead of me next week.
Yeah.
Or miles ahead of me in the next year.
True. Yeah.
And so selfishly, I also do it for AIVA because I know that, part of the network is that you give, you also get.
Yeah.
And so I know that whilst I might be reaching out with a helping hand now, they might be the ones that are 50 steps ahead of me in the future, and I might have to ask for advice and ask for help.
Yeah.
And I trust that if you've done it, people will be more open to doing it for you too. So it's both things. It's both things. And then I also think, and this is something that Paula and I have been speaking a lot about lately, but that is really, really hard to put into practice.
Yeah.
Is this idea of you have to have super strong conviction as a founder. That is what makes you a good founder because you've seen something in a market or you have the team to really enact something that hasn't been done before. But that sometimes comes with ego, and your job is not to be right. Your job is to do right by your company. And so be aware and be self-reflective of that ego because it's inherent to all of us. We all have it, some more than others, but especially as founders, I think we all have pretty big egos.
Yeah. To believe that we can change the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to
100%.
have that kind of delusion, which is amazing. I love delusion. I love radical optimism.
Yes.
I love delusion, all of the above. But it's definitely something that you have to keep on checking in because your goal is to make your company succeed. Your goal is not to be right. And if that means maybe taking a toll and being like, well, I was wrong this whole time.
Yeah.
Even if it's for the past 6 months, I've been wrong. Then you have to acknowledge that and you have to be adaptable enough and have the courage to pivot.
Yeah.
Or to, add a certain feature or decide to step back from a certain initiative that you were super confident on. And, I think that also comes with having an environment around you that's able to hold you accountable. Paula holds me accountable and we separate persona from ownership. Like she will tell me this sucks.
Yeah.
And I will not take it personally because I know that she's saying this sucks with the end goal of AIVA becoming AIVA.
Yeah.
So I think let ego go, stick to conviction, but in a way where you're also allowing adaptability and change to come into the equation and step into that picture.
But teach me, how do you let ego go?
It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's a ton of, I think you find ego when you get frustrated in conversations. So I recently had a conversation with somebody in the hospitality space.
Yeah.
And I was like, they just don't understand me. I was like, they just don't understand what I'm saying. And I was like, wait a minute. Like, step back. What are they saying? Where is that reasoning coming from?
Yeah.
Ask them more questions.
Yeah, get curious. Yeah.
Get curious about it and listen. And so I start, okay, they're saying this because of this. They're saying that because of that. Maybe where was my assumption coming from?
Yeah.
I have to question that assumption.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that person's necessarily right. Maybe they are, maybe they're not, but maybe we're both wrong, or maybe they're right and I'm wrong, or maybe I'm right and they're wrong. But essentially, I think it's finding the moments where you feel uncomfortable and digging into, why do I feel uncomfortable about this? And a lot of times it's because I know that something is like crawling up and that I have this long-standing, conviction about X, Y, or Z. Mm-hmm. And I have to open up and maybe admit that I have been going or like along the wrong path, or I had this notion that I strongly believed in that maybe I have to shift. So finding those moments where you're uncomfortable and turning them into points of reflection and points of curiosity.
Yeah.
So you can really make sure that you're putting your company above yourself.
Nice. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like a lot of internal
It's
work.
an emotional talk.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's doing the work, right?
Yeah.
So what I've heard so far is a lot of networking. Like once you got here, probably once you started thinking about this idea, you started building relationships.
Yeah.
If not even before, because you've been in this world before.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then nothing's beneath you. Participating in many different programs and communities.
Yeah.
And going to events, some of which may suck.
Yes.
Putting yourself out there. Then I hear talking to founders, because founders can be your biggest aid in this.
They will be.
And then being mean and concise.
Be rude.
Be rude.
Be slightly rude.
But also be so clear in your conviction.
Yeah.
That this is going to be huge.
And speak it.
Yeah, and speak
verbalize it.
Yes. Anything else?
I mean, I think you hit most of the key points.
Oh wait, have someone on the other side of your desk holding up a sign that says Lucrezia.
Sometimes Paula, if they would ask me an objection question, she would write something down on a piece of paper and just slide it over the desk. I think if you have a co-founder, which I'm a big fan of, know that you're winning the game, because having a good co-founder. Paula's not here today. She's in London.
Next time,
yeah. But she, I could not do this without her.
Yeah.
And I think she would, strongly say the same thing. We are a team, and every step. I know she's CTO, I'm CEO, and normally you think that those roles are completely independent.
Yeah.
She has been the most pivotal piece to the puzzle for me.
Yeah.
Could not do this without her by my side. So,
a couple other things. Constant learning.
Yes.
Curiosity. Checking your ego at times, but not with investors.
Yeah.
And then iterating and learning from your pitch and the questions you're getting.
Yeah. And why are you getting those questions?
Yeah.
And specifically, that's interesting when you step away from the investor front and you really, dig into deploying your product or service or whatever it is with those first properties or those first customers. That's when the questions are the most important.
Yes.
And that's when you should be asking the most questions and listening the most.
Yes. So knowing your customers really well and listening to them. You kept a list of good investors, let's say, and maybe not so good.
Yeah. Well, this is
not so favored.
Yeah. This is an ongoing joke with Paula and I. When an investor meeting would go badly, Paula would go blacklisted. Blacklisted.
So what were some things that got you on the naughty list?
Ghosting. Sometimes we had a third meeting scheduled with an investor after they had canceled both meetings prior, and then they would ghost us.
Yeah.
That's just plain out disrespectful.
Yeah.
No excuse.
Yeah.
Absolutely no excuse. Also, some of these investors we had met in person. So you've seen my face.
Yes.
And then you still choose to ghost me and not say anything about it.
Right.
Which is crazy. And then we liked investors that gave us feedback. If you're not investing in us and we've had 3 meetings with you, tell us why so that we can improve our pitch. We can reconsider certain factors. We can really understand your decision making.
Yeah.
And the investors that were like, it's a no for us and didn't give us that feedback, we were not so content with.
Yeah.
I do want to say something in terms of those meetings which I haven't mentioned and investors really liked on our front.
Yeah.
The questions that you ask when you step into that meeting set the tone for the meeting. And we asked 2 questions.
Oh, right. Yes, please.
And this was really, really, I had so much positive feedback from investors. The first question I asked post that strategy change in every investor meeting was, what made you want to hop on this call? And essentially what that's doing is two things. One, you're putting the onus on them and you're establishing your position of power in that meeting. You're asking the first question. But second, you're getting them to verbalize why they should be interested in your company.
Yeah, they're reconfirming their bias.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that was, and I remember it very vividly. I had an investor saying, I've had no founder ask me that, and that is an amazing question.
I just love that question. Like, I want to use that question all the time now.
It really, I think the verbalizing of that, and you see them kind of get angsty about it, and they're like, oh, like, what do you mean? And they're like, oh yeah, well, the space is really interesting, and I read this about you, and so they're basically confirming their interest in your company. And the second is, what stage of the deployment, like what deployment stage of your fund are you in?
Yeah.
And this was good for two reasons. One, you have to know this as a founder. Like, are they at the beginning of deploying their capital, or are they at the very end? Because that's going to influence the leniency that they have to invest in you.
Yeah.
And the capital amount too, normally. And the second reason why it's important is that you show investors that you're well-versed.
Yeah.
And that you understand them, and that you understand your business and how raising money in the context of their funds, their LPs, their wider network is. So those two questions, really big starting points for us in meetings, and it helps you establish control, helps you go in there with that Paulina Lucrezia mindset, and really make sure that they know that I'm handling this meeting because you want to be on my cap table, not because I need your money.
I love that. So what made you take this meeting?
What made you take this meeting?
And where are you in your deployment?
Correct.
Nice. It's getting hot in here. So do you have any hot takes on the fundraising and startup ecosystem?
It's a game. You might be a great player, but if you don't know the rules and you don't know the strategies, you will not win the game. You can be the most intelligent person in the world. You can have the best company in the world. Learn how to play the game.
Love that. How do you stay healthy while being a startup founder?
Yeah. This feeds into a big like SF versus New York debate. But
I'm here for that.
Yeah. I think, again, traditional perspective of founder, YC in a garage with a hoodie on.
Yeah.
I think as a founder, you are enriched by so many things outside of what you're building. And that entails things like doing sport. That entails things like being surrounded by friendships and relationships that nurture you. They're not mutually exclusive. You can be an incredible founder, and to me, being an incredible founder goes on par with having, good friendships, being healthy, investing time in yourself.
Yeah.
It's critical. You have a clearer mind. You're happier.
Yeah.
You're, Paula and I spoke about this for a long time. You need to make sure that you have the pillars of your life in order so you can really focus on executing and building your company.
Yeah.
When you leave work at 11, because a lot of times you will leave work at 11, you can go to the bar downstairs and have a beer with your friends. The days that you have to work till 2 a.m., you can, go to dinner 8 to 9, and then you come back to the office and you work.
Yeah.
You start your day off doing sports if you can. Of course, like all of this is in the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
But it's just trying to implement these small habits that really fulfill your life outside of your company.
Yes.
Because sometimes your company will be all you can think about, and having those spaces to really step away is super important. And I think that's something that New York offers.
Yeah.
Because it makes it accessible. It's not an effort. It's not an effort to have dinner with your friends. It's not an effort to do exercise.
Yeah.
Because you have Central Park, because you have the West Side Highway.
Yeah.
Because everybody lives nearby and you have a subway. And so making that as frictionless as possible allows you to focus on your company.
Yeah, sometimes not unplugging your brain, but shifting into a different channel and not thinking directly about the problem or your company is going to help you solve whatever's troubling you.
Completely. And again, like, I'm just very opposed to this traditional view of a founder because I think we're all so different. Everybody has their own journey. Everybody has their own game.
Yeah.
It's the same rules, but everybody has their own game. And so really being able to identify what works for you is what's important. Don't be fooled by these, like, again, coding in a dark room with a hoodie on fallacies. Like, sure, that you don't have to be a Stanford dropout
Right.
to be a great founder.
Yeah.
You don't have to be stuck in a room eating ramen noodles to be a great founder. You need to make being a great founder fit for you and your circumstances and your scenarios. And that will make you the best founder you can be. You know yourself more than anybody else. You know your company more than anybody else. So make sure that you honor that and not what you've been fed from the outside.
Amazing.
Yeah.
This has been so great.
Thank you so
I
much.
really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Conversations like this help us show founders what's possible and how to do it.
And, you know, I said it before, but any founders out there, reach out to as many founders as you can, me included. If you're raising, if you're in these early stages, I was there a few months ago. So yeah, just reach out and you can do it. Have the mindset in place. It's yours. You're going to raise this money. Just go in there with a Paulina Lucrezia attitude and it'll happen.
I love that. Wonderful. I'm Helena Fogarty, and this was Inside Startup Funding.